It feels like when we rent, we're wasting money though.
But it's not in the slightest. For anyone who's owned a house, you know the expenses that go into a house. It's not just the mortgage. It's the broken water heater. It's replacing your roof. It's the expenses that go into it. Like, you want to talk about throwing your money away. Try replacing the roof on a house that you own. That feels like throwing money away. My wife and I rented for years. And looking back, at the time and looking back, it was the best thing that we ever did. We rented for, 10 years before we bought a house, because we lived in 5 different cities and we could just easily just pack up and go, and we weren't tied to anything. We had flexibility. And it was pretty much the week that our son was born, when we had our first kid, that it was like a switch in my head. I was like, I need to go have my own house. Because the flexibility that I enjoyed when we were childless, it was the opposite. I was like, I value stability now. I want a stable house for my family. And it was like instantly that switched. And so that was not a financial decision of like, I need to go out and buy because I have some extra savings. It was like, I want my house, that's mine. And it's not, there's not gonna be a landlord that sends me a letter and says, oh, sorry, you're evicted, or sorry, we're selling the building, you need to leave. This is my house. That was the shift for me.
It's financial experts like this that really make me wonder why people actually tune into these videos. And this one specifically, because what are you really advocating for here? I mean, are you saying that renting is a good thing or a bad thing? Or are you saying that renting is a good thing until it isn't a bad thing? It's very confusing what you're trying to advocate for here. Again, is why I'm really confused as to why people listen to morons like this, especially when there are actually financial advisors out there who do this for a living and actually make sense. I'm not sure he's trying to say this, but this is what I would suggest when it comes to renting versus owning. In my opinion, when my wife and I first got married, I was taught by my parents to always buy because renting was bad. On the other hand, my father-in-law owned some rental apartments, and his thought was that, at least in the short term, renting might be a better idea. So what I'm getting at here is that renting is not always bad and owning is not always good. It always depends on your situation. Now, in my wife's and mine situation, when we first started out, we moved 8 times in 9 years. And when you move that often and you're trying to buy a home, it gets really complicated, because when you're trying to sell a house when you've only lived in it for 9 months or a year, you're going to have a real difficult time selling it for what you paid for it, plus closing costs. It's not real easy to do. In fact, I wouldn't recommend it. However, at the time, we really didn't think we were going to be moving all that often. So when you look at renting and you say, hey, I get the ability to move and do what I want to do and I'm not tied down, I get that. However, the latter part of what he's saying is that you have a landlord who can evict you, or he can say that we're selling the house, you don't have a place to live. All that's true too, which is why I always tell people you begin with the end in mind. And when you're looking at renting versus owning, don't look at renting as being bad. Look at renting as being, where am I at in my life cycle and what's going to be best for me at this point in time. If you're moving up the corporate ladder and you know that there's a possibility you can get promoted and you don't have kids, renting might be the best option for you on a short-term basis. Although on a long-term basis, I can tell you that owning a home is an asset and it is the best thing long-term for most people. You can't broad stroke it and says it for everybody. Take your particular situation and do what's best for you. Dickie out.